For Pacifica Radio, I'm Scott Baba. A United States envoy said an agreement to end the Israel-Hezbollah war is, quote, within our grasp after meeting with officials in Lebanon. There is no such optimism in the Gaza Strip, where the looting of nearly 100 aid trucks by armed men has worsened an already severe food crisis. Amos Hochstein, the Biden administration's point man on Israel and Lebanon, arrived today as Hezbollah's allies in the Lebanese government said it had responded positively to the proposal. It's unclear how close they are to clinching an agreement, which would likely entail both the militants and Israeli ground forces withdrawing from a UN buffer zone in southern Lebanon. Israel has requested a stronger enforcement mechanism. The arrival came a day after a series of Israeli strikes on central Beirut. Charles Ledesma has more.
Israeli airstrikes targeted a neighbourhood in the heart of Lebanon's capital late Monday evening, slamming into an area near the parliament, several embassies and the UN headquarters. The health ministry says at least 5 people were killed and over 30 wounded. As officials assess the damage, local resident Abu Mahdi al-Khalil tells the AP, "I was passing by her yesterday. I was 5 minutes away and I got to the stairs. And then there was the first boom and then the second boom. I just saw my family coming down the street. Where should we go? God knows." An Associated Press reporter at the scene in Beirut described significant casualties on the street as ambulance sirens echoed through the area. Al-Khalil adds, "We came from the Beirut suburbs into the city. They are hitting the displaced." I'm Charles Ledesma.
The Russian Defense Ministry says that Ukraine fired 6 U.S.-made ATACMS missiles at Russia's Bryansk region. The statement today came days after President Joe Biden eased restrictions on Ukrainian use of American-made weapons in the war that has reached its 1,000-day milestone. Ukraine said today that it hit a military weapons depot in Bryansk in the middle of the night, but it didn't specify what weapons it used. The Ukrainian General Staff said that multiple explosions and detonations were heard in the targeted area. The Russian Defense Ministry said in a statement that the military shot down 5 ATACMS and damaged 1 more. Neither side's claims could be independently verified. 45 ex-lawmakers and activists have been sentenced to 4 to 10 years in prison in Hong Kong's biggest national security case under a Beijing-imposed law that crushed a once-thriving pro-democracy movement. The defendants were prosecuted in 2021 for their roles in an unofficial primary election under the 2020 national security law. They were accused of attempting to paralyze Hong Kong's government and force the city's leaders to resign by aiming to win a legislative majority and using it to block government budgets indiscriminately. The 45 defendants received prison terms today ranging from 4 years and 2 months to 10 years. Legal scholar Benny Tai was given the longest sentence and accused of being the mastermind. Leaders of the world's 20 major economies called for a global pact to combat hunger, more aid to war-torn Gaza, and an end to hostilities in the Mideast and Ukraine, using a joint declaration that was heavy on generalities but short on details of how to accomplish those goals. The joint statement was endorsed by group members on Monday, but fell short of complete unanimity. It also called for a future global tax on billionaires and reforms to allow the eventual expansion of the United Nations Security Council beyond its 5 current permanent members. The 3-day G20 meeting in Rio de Janeiro ends tomorrow. President Joe Biden is requesting nearly $100 billion in emergency disaster aid after Hurricanes Helene and Milton and other natural disasters. He's telling lawmakers that the money is, quote, urgently needed. Sagar Magani reports.
President Biden is asking Congress for nearly $100 billion in emergency disaster aid after twin hurricanes battered the East Coast. First, there was Helene and then Milton. The president visited with residents and business owners after both.
And they're heartbroken and exhausted. and their expenses are piling up.
In a letter to House Speaker Mike Johnson, the president says the aid is urgently needed. About $40 billion would go to FEMA's main disaster relief fund, which the president says would face a shortfall this budget year without more help. Republicans campaigned on cutting federal spending, so there may be some debate about parts of the president's request before the Trump administration takes over. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
I'm Scott Baba for Pacifica Radio.